guys, welcome back to Show Up, Stand Out. My guest today is Mike Young, known as the Makeover Master. Mike is a seasoned entrepreneur, the founder of the Makeover Master, the host of the top-rated Made Over podcast, and this is something after you finish this episode, you're going to go and grab. He's an author of a Made Over, How to Create a Powerful Brand That Will Transform Your Business and Save Your Life book. I know I'm getting a copy 100%. Mike, welcome to the show.
That's a mouthful. So thanks for having me on, Juliette.
I'm very welcome, and I've practiced before we started recording. It was a lot to say. I'm going to just dive straight on the deep end. Why is having a strong brand so important?
Well, I think our brand is who you are naturally. I mean, the reality is that everybody has a brand. So many people say, well, I need to create a personal brand, or I need to create a brand around my business. And the reality is we all have one today, whether you like it or not, whether you're working on it or not. And so I think the difference is, are you running your business like a real business and trying to control your brand? And brand is pretty simple. You know, people make it wildly complex, but it simply just means that your perception of your business and who you are matches the market's perception of who they think you are. And if those two things match, you have a strong brand. But if you think you are a Facebook ads expert and the market thinks that you do logo design, then you have a weak brand. You've got something that's off there. And so I think it's in today's day and age, with all the information we're having to deal with social media, with all the noise, it's important that people instantly get who you are and how you want to be perceived. Because if they don't, we're all busy. We don't have time to figure you out. And so that's why it's important. If I have to take time to figure out who you are or what you do or where to start with your business, you're in trouble.
It's so true. I think, and it kind of brings us to this whole first impressions phenomenon, isn't it? Because it's not the same how we leave the first impression in the real world, offline, and what it is online. It's real. It's a real. You snooze, you lose online. The moment they lost attention, they're gone.
100%. Because online, I think the mistake I see pretty much over and over again. With businesses that are kind of stuck where it's not working and they can't figure out why, is they're trying to display too much information on their website, and they forget that the website and your social media and everything primarily is about creating that first impression for new prospects. Because once I've bought your products and services or worked with you, I know where to contact you. I know, if I need something, I call your assistant, or if I need something, I know where to go and pay and get it. New prospects don't know any of that information. They need it to be very crystal clear upon first impressions. And what you mentioned about the offline online thing is, if I meet you in person at a party, I'm kind of committed. I'm in the same room. There's no getting away from that first impression. Offline, a lot of times, people see your stuff, they don't get the right vibe, and there's no commitment there. I can just leave and never tell you that I saw your stuff, got a bad first impression, or saw your stuff, couldn't figure you out, and I just left. So people are always leaking prospects out of, their funnel, so to speak, because people are seeing you, it doesn't feel right, and they're just going on with their day. And then they don't think about you again. And that's a real problem if you're trying to sell something in the marketplace.
And you know what? It's always sort of a work in progress. I recently I made over my own brand a little bit, and I thought I'm making it so clear. And yet small little details, just what you have on your profile. And I added all the publications that I'm writing for, like Influencive and Addicted2Success. And straight away, the next person reached out to me, assumed I was a ghostwriter. And that's just such a clear example, that I didn't have the actual personal brand strategist, simple words. I think too many people go for very vague, flowery descriptions of what they do.
Or they try and make up words that, and this is a big deal. So you kind of touched on it, is I go to your Facebook and it's got one message, but then I go to Instagram, it's got a different message. So that's confusing the audience. The website's a big deal. Then on top of that, people just get that wrong, and they wonder why I'm not attracting the right prospects. And so they say words like, I'm going to transform your life and help you manifest your clearest desires. And it's like, that's not a conversation that is going on in people's heads. You need to use the words that are going on in their heads. And so it's like, I need my stuff to look pretty because I think it's costing me money in sales. And if you use that in your copy, you'll have a lot higher conversions than I'm going to help you manifest a website in alignment with your highest energy. Because nobody talks like that in real life. I mean, I'm sure there's somebody that talks like that, but you need to use the copy that the people, your prospects, are using in their own mind, which is, I know if, or maybe they're thinking, I know if I fix how things look and fix my brand, maybe it'll improve my sales or my business in some way. And you just have to reverse engineer that copy.
So in a way, and you just mentioned the sales, because you can work on how you look or how you're perceived, but as long as if you're not making any sales with that, then. And it's funny what you mentioned, about these words. And I've went through all the stages, everything that I've done was, I didn't get much coaching in the beginning. So I had to trial and error, had to try everything. I was like, there was the words like aligned and transformation and everything. And you're right. Nobody actually thinks that to themselves. And even when I worked with some people in the sort of energy work world, even they really need to use much more down to earth words to really convert. It's only when the practical stuff comes to place, then the sales starts rising.
Yeah, and it is a process. I think you mentioned it earlier. That's another mistake I see when it comes to branding and maybe business image and visual branding. People, I think all humans are kind of like this. We crave comfort and security, and we don't like change very much. So we're always trying to get it done. And there is no done. It's just a process of evolution. I call it the spiral dynamics of your business image, which just means it's always evolving, it's always shifting, and there's a lot of pressure that comes off of you when you realize this is a never-ending process versus trying to be done, because you put too much stress on yourself trying to get things perfect or right when they're in a world where there is no perfect and right. And the second thing you mentioned was sales. A lot of businesses get stuck in this, I'm moving colors around on my website, or I'm making things pretty or whatever. Businesses know their math. A real business, you have sales, you know how many leads, you know where your leads are coming from, you know what's the process you're putting people through, and you have a client first mentality. And so many businesses I see get caught up into moving stuff around, and they're not actually running a real business. You need leads coming in the door, and you need to know how you're converting those leads into sales. Because when you run into, and I've been there too, I spent almost a decade kind of floundering around and spent a lot of money buying courses and books and all that stuff that you talked about, and trial and error all over the place. But at the end of the day, businesses need sales. And when you don't have sales, you don't have money. And when you don't have money, it's kind of like a drunk monkey always punching you in the head on the side. It's very difficult to focus. You're trying to focus on your client experience, but you're wondering, can I afford lunch today? And that's a very difficult place to run a real business from.
Oh, that's true. That energy is absolutely horrible. And you really need to separate from that. I find, and it's very interesting, like, where is this coming from? The hiding behind things like, tweaking the website and everything, and thinking that will bring clients in, and completely shying away and being intimidated even by the words like prospecting and leads, and and I've been one of those people. The word prospecting alone, it just gave me anxiety.
Yeah.
And just because I didn't have relationships with that one word, I completely didn't realize that everything that I do naturally, which is relationships building, that's pretty much what prospecting is.
It's almost the entire game. I have clients come to me and say, my business isn't working. I can't figure out why. Can you help me? And so we do like these complimentary reviews and stuff like that on our website. And we just try and help people. But almost the entire game is a reframe of how you're considering certain aspects. So what I mean by that is you mentioned it. Sometimes the moving stuff around, or in my case, I took a lot of courses, read a lot of books. That was actually a psychological mask. I was deathly afraid to put myself out there, because if you put yourself out there, you might fail. And what happened to me in 2008 is I lost a very big business. So I had fear issues, but I never really translated those two. So I just kept buying books and courses and moving stuff around on my website, all because it never made me launch something. Because if I launch something, God forbid, I might fail, right? And so I think, and on the reframing in your brain, I think one thing I hear a lot is people saying, I don't really want to show all my testimonials, or I don't want to do social posting about like, hey, look at the 3 clients that I just had breakthroughs with today, because I feel like I'm bragging. But I think people need to realize, when you're running a business, if you can help people, if you're passionate about what you do, and let's just say it doesn't matter what it is. Let's say it's a fitness coach. Fitness coach, passionate what they do. They believe in themselves. They believe in their product and services. They know that if they can get that person off the couch, exercising, eating right, it'll change their life for the better. You have to understand that that person sitting on the couch is only going to buy from someone that shows proof that their stuff works, or their clients are happy. They have clients that pay them, and the clients are happy that they paid them and got the results they're looking for. So if you are fearful of putting your proof out there and saying, look what I just did with my client, look at all these testimonials, because you feel like you're bragging, you're literally costing somebody their life in that space, because they're sitting on the couch, they don't feel good about themselves, they're getting more obese, they have self-esteem issues. You can fix all of that, but they're not going to buy from you unless you show that proof.
That is so true. What would your advice be to someone who is just starting? Maybe they're starting a new business, but they don't have client testimonials for what they do. How would they approach that? Because I find that a lot of people are really holding themselves back. They say, well, I don't have these clients testimonials that somebody made $1 million with my work. And so they really hold themselves back.
Work for free. And I'm not joking either. I know it's a cheeky answer, but when I first started in design with our company in 2014-15, we did probably 100 logos for free. And I just would reach out to people in groups and say, hey, I'm going to do 5 logos this weekend. Who wants a new logo? No charge, no nothing. And what I was doing is capturing testimonials, proof of our work. So, a couple months later, we had 100 logos with 100 testimonials. And then from there, I started selling. I started increasing my prices. So I did a ton of work for free. And there's hacks to this game. If you're a coach or a consultant, open up. You could take 4 months and say, let's say you got 4 paying clients in 4 months. At the end of 4 months, you've got 4 testimonials, 4 paying clients, whatever. Or you could run a contest for the weekend and say, I'm going to coach 20 people in a free half-hour session this weekend. I'm going to work 2 10-hour days, and you could do it all in a weekend. So that I did that back when I started. I just said, hey, I'm going to give a half-hour free consulting to 20 people. This is going to go fast. But by the end of the weekend, I had 20 results. I had 20 breakthrough testimonials. I did it for free. I burned an entire weekend. I got very tired, but it, I could accomplish in a weekend what somebody else took 4 months to gather their proof, and they had 4. I did it in a weekend, and I had 20.
I had a very similar experience where I did a half an hour. No, I think I did a whole hour strategy session, and there was a result or some sort of clarity we've achieved at the end of the strategy session. But the payment was with the video testimonial, and literally within a week, I had something like 15 video testimonials. I don't even need more than that on my website, to be honest with you, because it's going to be slow to load. But it was really, it was kind of easily done. But you showed, and also you're creating like an army of raving fans, because they've experienced what you do, and you do it well, and they're telling everyone.
So many people skip steps. They'll say things like, I'll do a free strategy session. All you have to do is give me a testimonial. Even that is skipping a step in the normal human progression. Just say, I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to do it for free. And let's say 15 out of the 20 have success, but 5 didn't go very well. You just don't ask those 5 for the testimonials. You're like, that was clunky. I really didn't break through. But if you have a breakthrough with somebody, it's kind of like a book. You can have a breakthrough in a 7-minute meeting. If you
That's
give
true.
somebody direct advice that helps them keep progressing. And so it doesn't take that much time to build a breakthrough, but don't ask for your testimonial in advance. Ask for it after you've actually helped somebody do something.
Yeah, 100%. I would add another tip. If you are doing this and you want to collect, you want to give some time away for free and do maybe a strategy session. You can ask for them to submit. You can create, like, pre-qualify them, create a form that they need to fill. So you have the information and you can do your best to give them some sort of clarity. I have never had a single session that wasn't going well because, pre-qualifying and making sure you gather some information, it always really works. But in general, so this is great that we've mentioned about the testimonials, and you also talked about the three fears. So a fear of visibility, a fear of losing it all again if you have ever lost it all, and the fear of judgment, really, because that's when we brag, and we're conditioned from when we're kids, like, not really talk about our achievements and be modest and humble, and never talk about this. And these are the three fears that definitely stop a lot of people from doing anything successful in life. I have one question, and it's about the name of your book. So the name of the book, again, is called Made Over: How to Create a Powerful Brand That Will Transform Your Business and Save Your Life. Now, the save your life part, I love it. Just share with me why is it in the name of the book? What happened?
Yeah. When I wrote the book, it actually didn't start as a book. It was me getting a lot of information out of my head onto paper. I was really going through a transformative phase of my life where I was trying to process, after a decade, for me, it was almost 8.5 years of buying books and courses and going to events and seminars. And at the end of the day, my business still wasn't working. I'd spent over 200 grand and traveled a lot and seen a lot of things and accumulated a lot of knowledge. But I was frustrated. I was depressed. I was pulling my hair out. I got gray hair in my beard. I got bags under my eyes, like I was just like, I've worked so freaking hard and it's still not working. I was never suicidal or anything like that, but the save your life part, there are people out there that there's very high suicide rates in entrepreneurship. It can be a lonely game. So I put that in there because I was very dark, very depressed, very frustrated before I actually hired my own coaches and mentors. I got tired with this whole book and course game. I was never getting the direct help I needed. And that's why I do what I do today. Is we have a business system that is kind of like a little bit of a course, but really it comes down to direct help. People that work with me get direct strategy help. Then they get ongoing support where I help keep them going and answer questions. And so it was just the made over and the makeover master all came from a place where I had to kind of fix myself first. And then I could pour from a full cup instead of an empty one to my clients, to my relationships, like you mentioned. But when you're coming from that place where you're depressed and broken and things aren't working, it's very tough to help other people if you can't help yourself first.
Oh, 100%. And I can relate in terms of online courses. I actually made a list once. I made a Trello board with all the courses that I bought. It's terrifying. And most of them that some of them I haven't ever even taken. I just bought them. And and some of them I would watch the first video, and some of them I would watch the first module, and maybe two or three. But I found then, and it was a great exercise to actually write it down and put it all in one place and look at it and say, what are you doing that you're not even committing? There is no accountability, and there is no direct support that is tailored to a unique situation that you're in, because everybody is in a unique situation. And this was the reason why I kind of gave up on selling my own course, which is now just part, optional trainings. But I think that people need that direct support, and people really want the direction.
Mm.
because
I did the same thing. I logged all of my courses about, this is maybe 7, 8 years ago. I started just keeping track in, I use Asana, and I started keeping track of all my courses. Next thing I knew, I had this huge list of, I was like, what am I actually doing? Right. So you bring up a good point, and a couple of pieces of advice for people that are just kind of in that mode. Number one, stop caring what other people think. You're going to die way sooner than you want to. So decide what you want in life and go freaking get it. Number two, so stop worrying about what everybody else is thinking and get clear on what you want and start taking action to go get it. And you can achieve a lot more than you think you can in a very short amount of time, but you also have to be patient. It's not going to happen you're not going to do 50 sit-ups today and have 6-pack abs tomorrow. It just doesn't work that way.
that's the example I always use. Like, we're very similar in many ways. That's exactly the example I use.
But yeah, I mean, I think the other piece of advice I would have is you got to realize what your brain's actually doing and releasing dopamine hits and with Facebook and likes and hearts and all this stuff. So many people are robbing themselves from the real experience. When I was back in the mortgage industry in the early 2000s, there was a piece of software called Mortgage Coach, and it was $2,000 for this piece of software. And they had an enormous, and I forget the actual number, but it was over 80% of people never even opened the package after they bought it. And because what happens is you buy it, and it's the dopamine hit your brain needs to say, now I have hope. I have something I can attach to that gives me hope that I could fix this thing that's broken. But what happens is, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs go through this phase, is you get excited. And so you go tell your spouse, you go tell your friends, like, hey, I got this business idea. It's going to be huge. We're going to make $1 million, whatever. That provides enough of a dopamine hit that your brain doesn't recognize the difference. And so in your brain's mind, you've already done the thing that you haven't even done. And so stop telling other people what you're going to do. Stop giving yourself that dopamine hit of, I'm going to do this, everybody, because you only end up looking like a fool a lot of times. You feel ashamed because you keep telling your friends and your family that you're going to make $1 million a year, and they just see the actual results. So stop telling people what you're going to do and just go freaking do it.
This is such a great advice. And it's just, I am laughing inside because my husband, for the first year that it takes time to build everything out and also to figure things out. And I think what you've mentioned, people want to have this solution, this magic solution, but it doesn't exist. You will have to figure it out for yourself, what works for you. And sometimes people are just afraid to trust themselves, and that's why they also buy more courses and more things and they don't implement. But my husband, in the very first year, we would like go and watch the movie, and he'd turn around to me and say, is it really working? Is it really working? And it used to annoy me so much because, I stopped talking about the business at home as much because it was working. We have the roof over our head, we have the bread on the table, it's working, but it wasn't making millions in the first year. Yeah. So for him, it's like, do you think you're going to really make it?
You end up feeling like your friends and family are attacking you, which they're not. Your friends and your family, they care about you. They crave what every human being craves, which is comfort and security, safety. So they say things like, are you making $1 million yet? And they all feel like these gentle digs at you. And they may even say, maybe it's time to get a job. Maybe it's time to quit on your dreams because it's clearly not working. So that's why I say you got to pick a very tight inner circle of who you share that stuff with, and just realize, like, outside of that, people don't need to know because otherwise it is. And you will have the normal way human beings work with status and hierarchy and everything else. There are people that how do I want to put that? They secretly want you to fail, and they are actually digging at you. That's just how some people work. And then there's like your parents or your spouse that actually just wants you to be safe and happy. And so they're telling you, go get a job, go crave safety, go get a 401k and a gold watch. And that sounds like nails on a chalkboard to most entrepreneurs.
That's true. Well, they do want to protect us. In my whole life, I have to be honest, and you just mentioned, that there's some people, they want you to fail. With my online journey, the last 3 years has been so, full on safe on Facebook. And a lot of people are afraid to do that. But I've never met I haven't met many, or in a way any people who were really, really horrible to me. I met two in my life offline who really were trying to do anything they could so I could fail. But these are rare cases, and really the world,
You bring up a really good point. I remember because of my company failure in 2008, I was so fearful about even doing a video, like really just putting myself out there. I think in my head I spun this story that I'm going to get made fun of, or people are going to be mean, or what. I don't know what it was that was going on in my head at the time, and none of that happened. I put it out there, and I actually got the opposite. I got messages behind the scenes like, "Thank you for sharing your story, because I've also had a failed business. I've also been depressed. What did you do next?" I was getting inspirational messages. And so we see this stuff that happens online today, and these people on Instagram that are making their life look perfect, and selfies and stuff. And it ends up making us feel bad about ourselves, like we're not accomplishing more because I see all these people with the perfect life. It's all bullshit.
That's true.
Nobody has a perfect life. Everybody's got this madness going on in between your ears. And there are people that deal with it better and have done a lot of self-care and self-work to deal with it better.
But to be honest with you, with Save Your Life bid, just to sort of as we're wrapping up, to bring to that, I can totally say, and I was never suicidal or even, depressed, but being visible, growing my business, growing my brand, and personal brand is so satisfying, because you're really just accepting yourself more and more, and you're showing up in a powerful way to yourself as well. It's not a show. And that gives so much fulfillment and so much joy and a real flow. So a lot of things become, instead of being afraid to do a video, or you're enjoying it, you're really, really allowing this to bring joy into your life, which is saving your life. I just had an interview.
I think my passion today is to help people that are on the verge of quitting or on the verge of quitting life, because it does become so frustrating to them. There's 3 specific traps I try and help people avoid, that I went through all of them. One is over accumulating knowledge that ends up just getting to this place where you confuse yourself because there's too much going on. The second one is what I call the business seeking opportunity trap, which is you desperately crave confidence and clarity of your own message. So you end up buying people like Gary Vee and Tony Robbins and Grant Cardone and Russell Brunson. You buy all their stuff because they have what you want, which is clarity of message, a successful business, and confidence. So I try and snap people from that, like almost slap them up on the side of the head and say, stop this madness. And then the third is what I call internal fraud psychosis, which is you're posting online like everything's great and perfect, but behind the scenes things aren't great and perfect. So every single post you're doing is actually making you feel internally like more and more of a fraud. And if you do that long enough, it drives you to a place where literally you feel so depressed. And I've seen it. I've seen people that are suicidal. I've seen people that have gotten divorces. I've seen people that get to this place of such brokenness because they don't stop those 3 traps in time. And for me, that was definitely true. I went 8.5 years and 200 grand before somebody slapped me and woke me up. And part of that was my family, and part of that was me, and part of that was the direct help from some coaches and mentors.
And this is part of your journey too, and for some of us, it doesn't have to be so extreme. For some of our listeners, you don't have to spend so much money on courses or, because some things, they do come across extreme, but everybody has their own journey. And for some people, and I think we are very similar, we do need to fail in order for us to know what failure is. And I personally don't see failure as failure. I'm so happy to take a U-turn and go off and do something else and change. And I think I'm lucky that I have that, internal optimism and saying, well, you know what, I'm still alive, I'll do something.
That failure game again, like if you can reframe your brain, it's like you're not failing, you're just trying all the flavors. You're going into the ice cream shop, there's 31 flavors, you're going to try them all to see which ones feel best to you, and that's part of the process. And so you're not failing at anything, you're trying things early on to see what's in alignment with you, your skills, your knowledge, your energy. And you're trying to get the business in alignment so that you can do something you love to do and you can do it long term.
Exactly. Mike, thank you so much for being my guest today. It was a wonderful show. So much great information that we've shared. How can people follow you? What do you have for us today?
People can find me on my website, themakeovermaster.com. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, at Mike Young Makeovers. And if people, their business is stuck, it's not working, we have a ton of free reviews and stuff that we could do on our website.
And actually, if you go to the website, themakeovermaster.com/resources, that's where you're going to get the shortcut and get that book. And so we can start from there. Thank you so much again, Mike. Guys, I will see you next week in another episode of Show Up, Stand Out. And for now, focus on building the brand that is unignorable and that will save your life. See you later. Bye.